Hello, Jimmy. How you doing? How you doing?
Coach Barnes, I'd like to introduce everybody to the new assistant coach, Kim English, and we'll jump right into questions. So, who wants to start us off? Jimmy.
Coach, if you would just talk about two things: one, your decision to stay at Tennessee, and then also about hiring Coach English.
Well, when the whole situation came up with UCLA, the thing that first went into my mind was the fact that me growing up with UCLA basketball, you know, back in when I was in the 8th grade, my mother and a friend of our family spent $56 to send me to Campbell College basketball camp, which was the oldest camp in the country, which still is the oldest basketball camp in the country. And the reason I wanted to go to that camp was John Wooden and Pistol Pete Maravich were the two featured people there. And so that's the reason I wanted to go. And I can remember staying up back in the late 60s when UCLA started doing their games at coming on late at night with Dick Enberg. And then obviously when I went to college, my college coach also worked at Campbell College basketball camp through all the years with Coach Wooden, and we ran a portion of the UCLA offense. And so my really intrigued with the job when they called, which I was totally surprised, to be quite honest with you, and was the fact that I've got so much respect for UCLA basketball and what it meant to me growing up, and that was really the sole reason that it all got started, for just that, the intrigue with the basketball part of it. And with Kim, you know, I really got to spend a lot of time with him. What was it, 3 years ago at Augusta at the Peach Jam, and we spent a lot of time together, and with Kim and I and Coach Schwartz, and I knew from that day that if I ever had the opportunity to hire him, if I had that opportunity, that he would be the guy that we would hire. And you know, obviously I coached against him, and he didn't remind me until after he got the job that he beat us 5 times, and he held that card, but the fact is, you know what, he's already made an impact just in a few days being here with us. Beautiful family, has a daughter, has another child on the way here in, what, 5 weeks now? Yep. And but there's no doubt, as I've gone out, I was in, you know, Missouri last night at the United States Basketball Writers Banquet there at the Missouri Athletic Club, and I can't tell you how many people came up to me and told me that Kim English was one of their all-time favorite Missouri Tigers. And so we're excited. I think the players, I can tell you, they're excited, and so welcome to Rocky Top.
Thanks for having me. Glad to be here.
I mean, not that I wouldn't, weak leak is not the right word, but your coaching staff, I mean, everybody I guess was over 40, close to 50. Did you want to get younger when you made this hire? I mean, did you want to bring in a guy?
It had nothing to do with it. I've said before, I've always prided, you know, myself in thinking that I'm going to get people that I think are better than me, guys that, and when I look at Kim, I don't look at his age. I look at what I watched him work. I watched his way he was with people and the way he interacts. And honestly, Rob, that's the first time I've even, you said about age, I've never thought about that. I really haven't. I've always thought, I've never hired what I would call a quote unquote recruiter. I've hired guys that I think that want to come into this business and do it for all the right reasons, want to be head coaches, want to coach basketball. I mean, there's no doubt we all have to be understand recruiting, but there's more to this to have the program that we want to have. Our player development program here is the most important thing, and Kim's going to certainly, with his where he is with his age, is going to add to that. I mean, he could go out and play with the guys today. But the fact is, Kim's the package. He's the total package. And when I look at when we have to make these type hires, I want somebody that has it all, somebody that wants it all, and somebody that understands what our program is about, and he fit every part of that.
Rick, when did you first hear from UCLA, and how far kind of had those talks progressed by the time that your financial advisor called Coach Fulmer?
They had, I'm going to say around Tuesday of that week before, something like that, Tuesday, and then just talking, and then after we met, after that, we talked. I called Coach Fulmer, and Reed. We reached out to him.
Coach Barnes, in the end, back here in the back, in the end, what was the assurances you needed? What did you need to make the decision to stay at Tennessee versus follow I guess in some cases, what would be considered a dream job for you in UCLA? What were the assurances you need to make that final decision to stay here?
Well, to be honest with you, Brent, it got down to, I mean, a lot of praying went into it, I can tell you that. There was a lot going on, but, you know, when you get down to a situation like that, it has to make sense from a financial standpoint. It does have to, and the bottom line is we just couldn't really work it out with a buyout in terms of what was going to be that part of it, but in the meantime, you know, Tennessee. After I'd met with UCLA, I point blank said to him, I can't do anything else with you until I have a chance just to talk to Tennessee, because I said, I'm not going to walk out of here and not meet with my team. I'm not going to walk out of here and not meet with people here that have been really good to me, and you know, that's the way I felt about it. I said, I just can't say send a plane tomorrow and we're leaving. I'm going to make sure that this is done the right way because of the respect and what I really feel for Tennessee and the people here. Because I've been here, and you know, I know there's been rumors out there about, or people have told me that about Coach and I. I'm going to tell you, Coach Fulmer's taught me a lot. I'm in a Bible study with him, and for 2 years before he came back as the athletic director, I knew he was hurt by what had happened when he left here. And he taught me, by coming back here, what a man needs to do to, I guess, put aside that hurt and maybe pride to come back, because he loves this university more than anybody I've ever come in contact with. But we talked about it years ago, and when this opportunity came up, and for him to come back and do this, I think it speaks so strongly about him, because I know what it's like to get fired. Even though when I left, I had no bitterness towards the people there, but because you love your time, but I mean, he put a lifetime here, and all at once it's taken away from him. And I think for maybe 10 years, is that what it was? And but you know what? The way he talked, he never said he was hurt, but what he actually did one time. He did one time. We were having a very serious talk, but he always said, "I love the University of Tennessee." And when it all came up, he was skeptical. He didn't want to get hurt again, but yet, you know what? So for anybody to think that he hasn't supported me since I've been here, they're crazy. And where that would come from, I don't get it. I don't, because I've watched him come in here, and the way he's tried to look at 24 different sports and talk about how he wants every sport on this campus to have everything they can to compete at the highest level. And we know that he's working hard with football, but I think he's worked hard with basketball. I think he's worked hard with baseball. I think he's worked hard with everything. And so I don't know where that came from. And people made a big deal about, you know, not going to the when I was named Coach of the Year. I get that. I mean, he's out trying to hire a basketball coach, a women's basketball coach, to continue the great program that we have here. He's got a lot going on, and I can assure you this: if I told him, Coach, I want you to be there, he would have been there. But I'm 65 years old, and I don't need that, you know. But again, that's something that somebody picks up on, and everybody tries to pick at this and that. It had nothing to do with this situation of me being involved with UCLA. Had nothing to do with Coach Fulmer. It didn't. I mean, it had to do with the fact that as a kid growing up, the way I looked at UCLA basketball, and that was simply it.
Coach English, I'm showing my age here, but I remember Tennessee recruited you back in the day, if I'm not mistaken, Coach Pearl, you know, and those guys. So, I mean, just any sense of irony, and you ended up here now at this stage of your career instead of as a player?
Yeah, no, I've always had great respect for this university. Coach Pearl and Tony Jones and Steve Forbes recruited me in high school, and they were also recruiting Elliott Williams and Scotty Hobson, and chose Scotty, a great player here. I remember as a kid looking at videos and photos of that great arena over there, Thompson Bowling, and I'm just really excited to be here. I mean, I really felt good about what we were building at Colorado. We had unbelievable student athletes, great people, really good players, and my relationship with Coach Barnes and Coach Schwartz meant a lot. I've watched Tennessee basketball closely since Coach Barnes has been here, but Wednesday, when I got to meet those guys, I mean, I talked about it for the next 2 days, how blown away I was at how good of people these guys are. They are really good kids, and they work really hard. So I'm just extremely excited to get the chance to get to work with them.
Rick, have you signed your new contract? And Fulmer said Monday was pretty tough for him. How tough was Monday from you for start to finish?
Well, it was tough, you know, because you're pulled in a couple different directions, and I can tell you there are some people here in town that, in my time here, that I've got to know that were just stellar in the fact that they were there with me, because it's hard to go through something like that by yourself. And you know, I have a very few people that I lean on a lot, but the people that I did here were unbelievable. And but it's very emotional. It is hard because you're torn. You think you're leaving, then you go back and like you think about all the things you're going to have to do when you leave. Then you think, well, am I doing it right? I mean, the emotions run far and wide. And to say, I can tell you, I didn't come out of my house for 2 days and I lost over 5 pounds. If that tells you anything, because you don't feel like eating because the whole time you're talking, you're doing this, you're doing that. Just trying to, but I have put it back on, by the way. But the fact is, it's a very emotional time. It really is, and I've been through it. And I said to someone yesterday, the good thing about, and I said, talking about that, I'm in the last chapter, obviously, of my coaching career, and I'm just glad I won't have to do it again. Because it's a very stressful time, and when you love a place, and I can't thank the people here enough. I mean, it's been 4 great years. When I came here, the first couple of days on the job here, I was somewhat in shock. You know, like, you know, I'm in Texas one day, the next day I'm here, and really wondering what happened. How did this all happen? But I've said it before. I've got faith in the God that I serve and the God that I love, and I believe He's sovereign. I believe that He made it very clear through the many people that were praying for us during this time, and that I'm supposed to be at Tennessee, and it's really above and beyond a basketball program. I mean, I'm in love with this community. I'm in love with this state, and I just think we've got a lot of great things going on in this town that, and I want to help be a part of, continue to make Knoxville one of the greatest places to live.
Rick, as far as staff structure goes, do you have plans to bump either Mike Schwartz or Des Oliver up to an associate role, or how do you kind of plan to do all that?
We're talking about it. You know what? The one thing I appreciate with you know, a year ago was a big part of was getting our assistant coaches pool money up there, where these guys will be very close in what they make financially, and my thoughts right now will be that that Coach Schwartz would be the associate coach, but we're all talking about it. And but the thing about that is just being around those guys yesterday. We were in the office a little bit yesterday before I had to fly out, and the chemistry already that they have between Des, and everyone knows that Des is, I guess, waiting on a call from Kennesaw State. That could change some things, but just seeing those guys and hearing them talk about what we need to do was exciting yesterday going forward. But that's my initial thoughts right now. But we just got to we're waiting to see what happens with Des, to be honest with you, how in which way we proceed with everything.
Kim, could you just go take us through this whole process, you know, your emotions when you first got that phone call to when you guys were able to sort of close the deal?
Yeah, it was exciting. I mean, I kind of always looked at University of Tennessee, especially with Coach Barnes, that if an opportunity ever came up, it's a place I'd like to be. So we spoke. He asked if I was interested. I obviously said yes. Discussions kept going, and then I was here on early Wednesday morning. So it was pretty quick. My wife is 34 and a half weeks pregnant. She's from Southeast Missouri, so it gets her closer to home for her. It gets me closer to Maryland, where I'm from. It was a no-brainer on a lot of fronts. And again, it was I think the thing that I do best as a coach is I connect with our players, and I connect deeply with the guys at Colorado. And that was the hardest part for me. But again, like I said earlier, I'm so excited to get to work with these guys because obviously they're great athletes. I mean, they were #1 in the country for 4 weeks this year, SEC champions Sweet 16. But I was blown away by Grant Williams, the person, Lamonte Turner, the person, and so on and so on. So that's what I'm most excited about.
Rick, when you said you were talking about mulling over this decision, when you woke up last Monday, did you kind of think you were going to be the next coach at UCLA, or how close was it in terms of thinking you might be heading out?
There was Monday, I'm trying to think back now, but yeah, there was one time in my mind I truly felt that that's what would happen, and I remember the last time I prayed about, and I asked God for total clarity, and I said, this is what's got to happen. I said, when they come back, if we can't work this out, I think it's clearly that you want me at Tennessee, and that's where I want to be. And it got to that point where I felt like my prayer had been answered, and that's all I can tell you. And that, and once it happened, you know, I called the people I needed to call and said, I'm, you know, staying at Tennessee, and I haven't looked back.
Just a couple of things, Rick, to follow up on what Grant asked. Have you signed your contract yet?
I haven't. I was waiting on you to do that for me.
I'll be glad to.
Yeah.
Kim, going back to the question about you, when did you first meet Coach Barnes, and when did you first hear about Coach Barnes?
Well, in 2003, I was in my dad's bed watching the national semifinal, Texas versus Syracuse. Carmelo's from Baltimore. Remember watching that game and being impressed with Coach Barnes' team. Fast forward 5 years, I'm a freshman in the Big 12 and played 4 years against Texas, and obviously had great respect for their team, their players, and Coach Barnes and his staff. My senior year, I played for a man by the name of Frank Haith, who was on Coach Barnes' staff at Texas. And when that happened, and then when I started coaching, I felt like I kind of was brought into the Rick Barnes family, being that I worked with Coach Haith at Tulsa. And Coach Mike Schwartz and I became close, spent time with Coach Barnes on the road. We know a lot of the same players, the same people, and that relationship just grew. Sitting watching AAU games together, we went to have dinner in Charlotte, North Carolina, after a tournament at Queens College, and we just stayed close. And beyond the basketball stuff, obviously I think Coach Barnes is an elite coach in the country, but I'm really impressed by the man and the father and the husband that he is. His son is a missionary. He's a man of God. So if I don't learn anything from a basketball perspective, which I know won't happen, I know that I'm going to take away a lot from the man that he is, the Christian that he is, and I'm really excited about that aspect of it.
Were you going to tell him how you thought I was really like a stick in the mud? And
I actually, you know, so that is true. So his stature at Texas as a player, I held him in such high regard. I thought he was like this regal figure, like just this mammoth of a man. And then when I got around him, and he jokes and pokes fun, and and I kind of was surprised that he wasn't. I mean, I'm not saying he wasn't the figure that I thought he was, but he wasn't the serious, stern person that I thought he was.
Kim walked into Augusta at Peach Jam one night for the last game, and it was very, very crowded, and he was looking for a seat. And at that time, he didn't have my number. And when he sat down, I told him, I said, "Hey, man, get out of my seat or I'm going to kill you."
He's texting me from a number I don't know.
And he looked around, and I said, "I'm not kidding, man." I said, "Meet me at the front door. We'll settle this right now." And this went on for about 45 minutes.
It did. That's true. We did.
Yeah.
Later that night.
Yeah.
We did.
Rick, when you were making your decision, how much were you able to? How aware were you of sort of the reaction from the community, and what people were offering you free food for life to stay and all these other things, and that sort of outpouring? I mean, you've been here for 4 years, but it's not like you've been here for decades, but it seems like it almost felt that way with the connection between the people.
Well, I really wasn't aware of it at the time, because I really was, I was just locked in, and I was talking to to be honest, there were some friends here in town that I have great respect for that I was talking to, but none of that actually came up, to be quite honest with you. It didn't, because there were so many other things going on at the time, and with what was happening, and it was happening quickly, and very quickly, but I'm just, again, I just know this. A guy that has helped me with my finances forever was a guy that was really talking to UCLA, and in the end had talked to Coach. He had met Coach last year, and they started talking, and then I wasn't even a part of that part of the negotiations, to be honest with you. I really wasn't, and because I didn't feel like I wanted to. I didn't want to do anything where Tennessee felt begrudgingly I didn't want to do that, because Tennessee's been so good to me, and when I first got here, Dave Hart was honest with me and told me where we were financially and what he would do in time, and obviously Dave left, but from the time that a year ago, people here have been great, and I'm telling you, and once I heard all the stuff you're talking about, did it overwhelm me? It did overwhelm me, and because I think sometimes you get so locked into what you're doing, maybe you don't realize the total impact that's going on with our basketball program. And it's not just me. It's the way that it's the kind of players we've had here. It's the support people. It's the fact that, being out in this community, it means a lot. I've fallen in love with the different things that I've been able to get involved with, the people here, and my wife has. She's today out doing something today that's really important in this community, and what she's doing needs to be done. And so it wasn't just, she looked at me and she said what she's always said, you do what you want to do, I'm going to be with you, whatever it is, but you need to think long and hard about it, and just make a decision. And she finally did say that to me. She said, I'm tired of it, just make a decision. And we made a decision pretty quick after that,
Coach, you and Rob Lanier have spent, I don't know, what, the last 7, 8 years together. Just, what's it going to be like not having there? What specifically will you miss, that he brought to the program?
Well, you all know how much respect I have for Rob and what he's done. And you know what? First of all, I admire the way he's gone about his career, because he's had opportunities in the past that he could have been a head coach again, but he chose to do things what he felt was best for his family, but just the fact that we've known each other, I think that's the biggest part, and the trust factor, the fact that I know that he would tell you, and Kim will find out too. I have total trust in my assistant coaches, and I trust them more than anything. Like, you go back to the kind of players we recruited. I didn't say to them, "Hey, we got to recruit 5-star players." I didn't say that kind of things, because I have so much respect for Rob and his time in this business, his feel for this business, and when he got involved with Georgia State, it was really, I could tell there was something different in his voice. They got him excited, and I didn't want to temper that. I really didn't. I just said to him, what, Rob, you sound really excited. And I said, you need, if this is what you think you need to do, whereas I could have said to him, hey, what does it take? I wouldn't do that at that point in time, because it was just something different about it this time, where last year he had some opportunities that I told him when we talked about it, but this one was one where I could just feel it, that he knew that he needed to take this shot at this, and from the commitment that he felt from there. And but it's different. But you know what? Like I said, he was with me one other time. He left and went away. Did some wonderful things with Dave Lato and Billy Donovan. And when I had a chance to hire him back, I did. And I'm just so happy for he and his family, because of his excitement and their excitement for this opportunity for him. But in this business, those type things can happen every day. Because, like I said, we could lose Dez today, and I don't know if we will or we won't. But the fact is, I could say the same thing about Dez. In the 4 years I've been here, how hard he works and what he does. I don't worry about anything. I can put my head down at night with my staff, knowing that they're going to do things the right way. I don't worry one bit about it. And Rob had a lot to do with that because we came here, we had to restart our program, and he had a lot to do with that.
Rick, since you are staying, you've got a couple of players that are experimenting with the draft and exploring their opportunities. How do you manage this 6 weeks between now and the end of May in terms of trying to fill roster spots or getting a fill if you have spots to fill? And also, what do you think of the portal as a resource?
Well, you have to be ready to fill it because you never know what, I mean, this process is in place for players to go out and get a feel for what professional teams think about them. So, you know, what you hope is that the advice they get is going to be the right advice, and you hope they make the right decisions, because you don't want to see guys make decisions that's can be life-changing decisions for them. But with that said, you've got to also think in terms of if they hear what they want to hear, they're going to be gone. And so you never stop recruiting. I mean, there's not a day, these guys, there's not a day in their life that they're not recruiting, am I right? Ever, because you know they're getting calls, they've got this, that, whatever about players that are available. And you look now with the transfer portal, I mean, every year now you're going to have to remake your team, it seems like. I mean, guys leaving, guys putting their name in that transfer portal, and then so I don't care where you are, it's almost like every year you have to, at the end of the year, think about, okay, we might have to remake our whole roster. That's where college basketball has gotten right now. And with that said, we're going to stay on top of it. We're going to do everything we can to support our guys that are going through this. But with that also said, we've got to be in position to protect our program.
One for each of you. Coach Barnes, can you talk about the reaction of the players, maybe when you told them that you were staying, and maybe how much they supported you during your decision process? And then for Coach English, can you talk about what your strengths are as a recruiter?
Well, what I did I have contact through going through this? I did. I had some players reach out to me, and they were say, Coach, we know you'll do what you think is right, and we love you. We're going to support you one way or the other, just like I'm telling you that we have to do that with them going through this process. And once we knew that we were staying here, we had a team meeting, and the first thing I hit was I talked to them about it. And what I talked to them about was simply this: when you win, opportunities come. And that's the truth. I mean, because of our winning, we lost a coach because of the success we've had, and another one is in position. Mike Schwartz had opportunities to interview for some head coaching jobs, and that's what happens with success. Grant Williams has a chance to be Player of the Year, goes to the Wooden Award, Naismith, all those things. All that is a byproduct of winning. I have an opportunity to have a chance to interview at UCLA, and I said, so with that said, you know, I was very transparent with him about it, and talked to him about it, and said, but now, you know what, this is our team. We're here, and now we're going to, again, we're starting over again. We're going to move forward, and we're going to continue to try to work as hard as we can. Not try, we're going to work hard as we can to take this program to another level, to where we are consistently considered one of the best basketball programs in the country. And to do that, we need everybody to buy in, knowing that if we all do our jobs, everybody's going to have a chance to have opportunities that they might not even expect. But it's all a byproduct of success, but what I did, I just hit it head on with them when we had that meeting.
I think I can't just answer a singular question about my strengths as a recruiter. I think it goes to a deeper level of what I feel like my role is as an assistant coach. I feel like it's three things. I feel like it's making the players that you have better, as obviously with their skills in basketball as people. I feel like it's game planning, preparing for games, how we're going to beat our opponent, and then evaluating, identifying, recruiting, and signing of players. I think all of those things come together. You know, when I hear that Grant Williams is one of the best recruiters for Tennessee basketball, I think that's because of his development here. You can recruit guys that look like him if they see the success he has on the court. If he has a good relationship with his coaches, he's going to convey that to recruits. in evaluating, I'm evaluating the type of workers these kids are, the type of students, the type of teammates. Not just a shallow, broad-based fishing of just random talent. We're trying to find the right guys. We're trying to recruit the right guys. So those three areas. Will they understand the game plan? What's their basketball IQ like? So recruiting to me goes back to my core three as a basketball coach. I'm from Baltimore, so we're going to be heavily involved in Baltimore and D.C. I played prep school in New England, so I have great connections there. I played college in Missouri, so Kansas City and St. Louis. I played for the Pistons. I have a great relationship in Detroit. I've worked in Oklahoma. I played basketball in Europe and in South America, and I feel good about my authentic relationships in all those places. Obviously, Tennessee is so critically important. The players in East Tennessee, players in Nashville, Middle Tennessee, and Memphis, taking care of those players, keeping them home is so important. But I think this brand, this Tennessee basketball brand is global. So we're going to be involved. We're going to find talent. We're going to identify talent. We're going to recruit talent. We're going to evaluate talent and sign the best players to play for Coach Barnes.
Coach, both Grant and Bone have both mentioned that they're going to lean on their families and the coaching staff through the process. What kind of feedback and what kind of support can you give to them through the whole process of them testing the NBA waters?
Well, once they go through this, you do get feedback from, the team's going to give them feedback, and any calls that we need to make for them, we will. And I do think that they have the support people around them. Their families are obviously involved with them to do it. But I do know this: if you really want to get accurate reports from what the NBA is telling you, you can do it if you keep an open mind to it. Because there will also be people out there saying things that might not be the way it actually is. And so what I think we have to do when we're asked about it is to make sure that we can give them exactly what they need.
Rick, I don't know how this works. I wanted to ask you about this. I read the other day where Zion Williamson had a insurance policy against if he didn't get drafted among the top 16 in the NBA, he would get $8 million. Do your players have policies against injuries, and how many, and how can you work with them through that?
I think, Jimmy, the way, again, I'm just going to tell you what I think, and I'm not sure I'm right on it, but I think that number has to come from what the NBA puts a value on them, I think.
Yes.
But if I'm not mistaken, that policy only pays out if it's a career-ending injury. Am I right on that? So I think that's where the policy comes in. It has to be a career-ending injury. And so I think players that want to be insured can do that. And but that's what I think the way the policy works.
Were your players insured?
I don't think we had anybody this year that was insured.
Williamson said he could get $8 million if he wasn't drafted in the first 16 picks. I never heard of it.
I haven't either. I've never heard of that either. I should take that out if I'm not drafted in the first 16 picks.
You've mentioned with the UCLA thing, the buyout just not working out. I just want to clarify, if UCLA had been able to cover that whole buyout, would you be there now?
I think I would have been the coach at UCLA. I've said that to people before. I really felt at that time that's what would have happened. But with that said, and I'm going to say it again, when it got down to that point, and I can't tell you again how much in my mind, that's what I was thinking, I should say. But when I prayed, one of the last prayers when Candy told me, will you make a decision, in my mind I know what I had prayed, and I said, ask God for total clarity. And when they came back with their decision, I knew that I'm not supposed to be the coach at UCLA. And as soon as that happened, I'm like, okay, I'm good with this, because I felt like, again, that God had made it crystal clear that I needed to be at the University of Tennessee. And I often wonder why do you go through those things? But that's what life is. And let me say this: the people at UCLA are great people. I mean, they were great people. And I said it from the beginning. It was an intriguing job because of the way I have in my mind what I watched UCLA. I've said it before to you all. I've got pictures of myself sitting in John Wooden's house. I've got pictures of me in restaurants with him. When I got to know Coach Wooden, and in his latter part of his life, and I got to meet his daughter, had dinner with him. So there was a relationship there. And but again, I really, those situations, they get tough because, you know, they probably felt they went as far as they could go. I felt I went as far as I could go. And but the fact is, I'm here because I believe that God wants me here, and I believe that with all my heart.
Rick, are you expecting any roster attrition in the form of transfers, and are you guys in the market maybe for a grad transfer?
Yeah, again, because of this situation, you're always in at the end of the year. Yeah, you're always looking at it. And again, right now, I don't see anything happening with our roster, but I don't. But I've been caught off guard before and with it, or been surprised before with it. But you know, we've talked to our players, and you know what, we had great meetings with them. Our my assistants do what they do every year. They met with them and got their take on what they think and the way they've come back. And you know, we were out recruiting the other day, and Kim made a great point to one of our recruits about when he walked in here the very first day of practice, watching guys that were working out, and you can tell them what you saw, but it was you know, these guys have jumped right back in it, and guys that didn't get a chance to play last year, they feel like they've got a chance, and their focus has been terrific and up to this point, but we also know, again, we have to be ready for, you know, the guys that are looking at the NBA to stay in it, and if they do, we have to be ready.
Thank you, guys.
All right, thank you.